before I think Victoria comes, something just to like to check with you. I am okay. So basically, there is a new intern that's going not intern but a volunteer who might be joining. Okay, so that's
Okay, cool.
just to update to Victor also, and actually he's one of the developers working with us now. I just was posting again, calling for some volunteers to work on basic fundamental stuff, and this guy actually is already a master student. Volunteer. So I just talked to him this morning. All right. So, hi, Victoria.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Hello. All right. So just to, before we start, just curious. So would today be again like a sort of a refactor buffer day discussion? Is that
Yes.
the plan? You think
Yes,
all right?
yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
Good. All right.
We didn't do last
So,
week.
all right, so that's I think we can start. So I guess maybe Victory, I think we can probably share about I guess our perspectives. Oh, Charles is joining. Great. Okay. All right. So I think maybe we can all share a bit about what is the current nice progress of the project, that the wins that you feel in the last week. And then I guess any aspects, okay, that you like to discuss. Okay, maybe we can start with the wins so far. Yeah. All right. So, Victor, you like to start?
Yeah, I can go. So I think the major win, I think, is between the different components, which was always my concern. It was at first, which was part of the plan, by the way, there was a sense of parallel development where there was spatial development, there was the global server somewhere. But now they're sort of coming together. There's sort of this point where they seem to be coming together nicely, where like the experiment is sort of overlapping with the test at the front end and stuff like that. So I think that that is progress. Also, one thing, I don't know, do we talk about the challenges now or after everyone has come?
Maybe after we can talk
After,
about
yes.
what
Okay,
are the
yeah.
current state. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the convergence of the efforts now, right?
Yes, that's the good
Okay.
thing.
Nice. All right. Okay.
And
So,
sorry.
all right, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the other thing was, I think Debo finally understood the project after like a month. I think it was very fuzzy about how the system worked.
Okay, so he's
yeah,
finally getting.
He understands what the roles of each of the, like stuff like the gateway and the matcher. And he knew what the process was, but he didn't really understand how it was working. And I think because the simulation was happening on the same PC, so he didn't really understand that these were like individual components. And I literally had to do like a 2 or 3 hour workshop with him, like drawing out the whole thing. And he was like, oh, no, I get it. And that was why he was able to design that front end stuff. I actually didn't ask him to do that. He did that. So that was also, nice. I think, a progress on my side. And sorry, just one last one. I finally entered the code, so I think that was good.
Okay, that's a win too.
Yeah, that's a win. I was able to just jump right in and not too scared to break stuff. And I think I'm pretty comfortable with it now. So progress. Yeah.
Thanks, Victor, for sharing. Great. All right. So how about Herman? You like to share?
Yeah, so I also got the impression that there's more convergence towards what we're doing and how the different components work. So I think that's good. I had a meeting with Alida on Monday, and I think she also now has a better grasp of the different components and what's expected of the logging and things like that, and what exactly is the difference between discrete event simulator, the simulation of the system, and the basically when we run the system, in a live system with a different host. Why do we want both of these systems, and why what purpose do they have? So I think that's good. And as I said, I think I said last week as well, that it looks like the spatial routing is working correctly. The messages are being delivered. It looks like that is working, and obviously the spatial integration is also working good. So I think that those are good wins. Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right, thanks. So basically the convergence and also the verification of the correctness in a sense, right? That's that has been okay, good. So Shao, hi Shao, good morning. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hey, thanks for joining. So I guess any from your observation or your perspective, any wins gains from the last week so far?
So I've watched the recordings, and I'm not sure if I have a perfect understanding of the progress that has been made. But something that I'm excited about is I haven't worked with Alida yet. I haven't met her, but the movement simulation and the fact that we're starting to work on that is exciting to me, because
Okay.
that is functionality that we really want and that we need, and it's exciting that we're starting to make progress on that. That to me is a win.
Nice. All right. Great. And I think it's also a win that you're catching up with the recording. That's,
Yeah.
that's
Also,
very
holiday
nice.
was a bit of a big win for me. That
Oh,
was-
nice. Okay. I think that's probably some nice recovery. All right. So, all right. So I'll share. Thanks. I'll share about my perspective as well. So from what I can see, I think everybody's getting a hold on the code base now. Okay, from Victory, Alida, and also, I mean, definitely the interns. And I think one of the things from the last week is Herman's MQTT part. That seems to be, frankly, I was a bit surprised that Herman was quite involved in the, I guess,
Sometimes.
in busy professor chair and still build. But I have to say that's pretty admirable. Okay. So that actually got me inspired to do some coding as well. Okay. I might share about that. So the other thing, I think it's right now, obviously last week, the chat app, okay, I think that is coming to be functional, okay? And so we're really close at being using a prototype chat. And I think the simulator, the verification, we also have I think a overall better understanding of what needs to be done, okay? And particularly I think there are common functions and code base in the behavior model and in the analysis part. I think there's consensus and agreement that it should be used together. I mean, by both Victory here and Alida. Okay, I think that's also good progress. And I guess the final wing is something I was sharing with Herman, that there will be another person, a volunteer developer, joining the project. And he's actually, one of the developers, a backend guy who's been working for immunology. He's actually already a first-year master student in one of the top 3 grad school in Taiwan, Tsinghua University. Okay, so it's a pretty engineering-oriented school.
Cool.
Quality developer, and he just volunteered to. He was interested to do the peer-to-peer decentralized stuff. And I was explaining about the background and overall scope of the vast and current progress. And he should be joining in the syncs and also probably some development work. Okay, so his name is Jason, by the way. Okay,
Okay,
so
cool. It's
all right.
pronounceable.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. So I think we can maybe discuss a bit. What do you feel is kind of where we're at, and what are some of the major things, maybe bottlenecks, maybe difficulty or challenge that we might want to tackle and to move things forward? Okay. And so I guess Victory, you'd like to start? I think you had some you have some views here, right?
Yeah, so with Mike, I think everything is going well. I think it's going smoothly. My concern sort of comes out from the last positive that I referenced, which was, they were struggling to understand the concepts. I think we might have to think about it. I'm working on that on the side just to do like a bit of a write-up, but the write-up such that we can explain the project to our grandparents and they would understand. I don't know if they would understand, but basically the idea is to just have that one-page description. And I think there's already something like that. The vast page on SourceForge, I think, has something like that. But it's a very engineering, very technical,
Right. It's not your
explanation.
grandparents. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Well, not pass the mom test, the so-called mom
Exactly.
test.
Exactly. So I think if we have something like that, it's not only will it be easy to explain to, so for example, interns, just to the next guy on the road to convince them to want to join the project either by downloading the app or investing in the research or whatever. But that one page short description as to, for example, this is how the internet communication currently exists, and this is how we compare to that. And I do have an idea in my head. I just need to write it down and maybe I'll share that later. And that was why I was asking for those links that you wrote, those articles on
I
2 weeks
see.
ago. Yeah. But I think that's my only, yeah. But in terms of the project overall progress, I think it's going quite well. At least the tasks are a bit clear. The destination is also clear in terms of development work, and I think that's the least we can ask
Okay,
for.
nice. Okay, all right. Thanks for pointing that out. I think that's a quite valid point. In basically, it's a question of communication, right? Like, how do we communicate what we're doing to potentially a larger audience, so that we can garner the interests of users and future participants to be able to join and onboarding, in a way. Like I can kind of mention that Jason, when I share with him, we could potentially build an open source version of the Uber infrastructure for everyone to use. Okay, kind of like a Bitcoin network, except that it's going to be public available and hosted by volunteer servers. And he got that. Okay, and that kind of excited him, right? I think I guess that's the kind of messaging we might have to sort of communicate more effectively, right? All right.
Yeah.
All right. So how about anyone else who would like to share what is the I guess,
So
okay, Herman.
So I think the work on the front end has been, what's the word I would use, stalling a bit. I think I pulled some. I think I pulled the most recent version, and I think when I tried to log into the system, then I got some weird error message or whatever. So I think because that's kind of the final piece of the puzzle for us to have a nice application. I was thinking about. What I was thinking about is now when we have that ready, if we post that on like spat.org or something like that, some website or whatever, and it's just a chat app, then people are not going to get it. So I was thinking about, okay, but how we want to show it, but the fact that people can chat isn't the cool part. It's what's going on underneath. So I was thinking, yeah, we need some kind of a way of communicating that part. And I was also thinking when we want to expand that to do actual spatial chat where you say, I want to chat to people in this region or whatever. I mean, maybe we need to have some kind of a Google map where you could drag a circle and then, okay, I'm subscribing to this region now over here or something like that. So I was thinking more, I was starting to think about, now that we have this, how do we communicate what it does to
Exactly, to the rest of the world, right?
Yes, in a way that people like, oh, this is cool type of
Right, right. All right, nice. All right. That's a good point. So it's actually something I want to discuss as well. Okay, so but Shao, and what is from your perspective, what's the next major item that we should probably tackle on?
So what I feel I should be doing, or at least the simulator environment, I feel like I don't understand it. I think I understand what should be done, but I've been trying to look through the latest code, and I, like, no offense, Victory, but I can't figure out what you're trying to do.
Okay.
So I think we need clear definitions of what's happening, how it's working. So in the previous meetings, there was discussion about, we're building a simulating environment where each client is just merely a reference to an object. They're all running in the same process. That makes perfect sense to me, but I'm not seeing that in the code, and then it also came up, I think in yesterday's meeting, if you're running these clients on different hosts, bringing NTP into it to sync your timestamps and all that. Right now, I just want to focus on the single threaded, single process on one machine. We have a bunch of clients and we tell them what to do. I just, the code doesn't make sense to me. I'm not sure I think from a conceptual perspective, like Debo and Victory know what needs to happen, but I think you guys are maybe missing some of the more technical how object oriented programming works type of, that technical side of it. Yeah, so I think we should have meetings about, like, me and Victory and Alida and Debo, where we clarify very specific specifications. Just offhand, something that I've also noticed that I'm personally quite adverse to is I've noticed that there's, in the test directory, there's this app.js. I have no idea what that is, but you guys are using Express, and it looks like HTML requests you guys are processing. And also, you guys have so many third-party dependencies, and in my mind, we want Vast to be very neatly wrapped up, self-contained. We don't want people if I'm a random organization that wants to, bring my existing MQTT infrastructure, I don't want to install 15 different obscure packages. I just want to get Vast, change a few port numbers or something, and then have it running,
That's very good feedback, actually. All right.
Sorry, and just one more thing. If we're building a single simulating environment for what Victory is doing and for what Alida is doing, and just long-term, Victory, I feel like just use the JSON format instead of CSV, because you already have the library to log things in JSON. You already have libraries. It's very easy to read things in JSON. And when you're logging it, when you're creating a text file in JSON, especially when you're so currently in your CSV things, when you're appending it, you're getting new header rows and all that every time you append it. And that can give you issues when you're trying to read that data again. You know, if you're expecting, okay, I'm reading the first comma separated value as my X ordinate, but now all of a sudden it's just an X character. Just, I think JSON is better also in the sense that line by line, you can be specifying completely different objects. You know, if you're trying to tell a client to move, you know, you don't necessarily need to give it a new radius. You don't need to tell it, okay, this is a publish or a subscribe. I just think JSON is better because the tools are already there. They're already in Vast. You don't even need these third-party CSV parsers and all those other libraries. Like it's in Vast, it works. It's already being used in some places. I would say rather take what exists, and if you need to extend it a little bit, extend it. But
Okay.
That's just my thing. Like also, if you're using JSON, there are examples for you because it's already being used. It's just, I think it will be quicker and easier and just a better solution long term.
Just quickly, any feedback from Victory? I mean, regarding this point.
So no, I do hear you in terms of basically, so if you look at the code that you're seeing, for example, the app.js part you see was only added like 2 days ago or 3 days ago. And that was Debo's way of making things easier in terms of, well, I don't know if you listen to some of our meetings, just having that batch. I think you use the batch file, for example, for the idea was to have that front end patch where you can simply just create a button and then import values like data sets, specific data sets. So it's not necessarily testing for the final product, it's testing for our test case. And then the idea is once we're sure that that part is working properly, for example, the front end HTML part you saw, then that can be integrated with the existing global server. Right, where you can now have a section in the global server where we're saying stuff like, okay, when you push this button, you can import a list of nodes from a text file, and you can visualize those nodes and their position in this global visualizer, like rather than having them in a third place. In terms of the CSV part, I remember I did see the JSON stuff. The thing with the JSON work is JSON, I have used JSON in the past in terms of parsing, and there's quite a few manipulations that you have to do to get the data out, you know, basically like clean stuff, like you said, and you're right, it's more of a long-term thing. But at the moment, the goal was just to get something out in terms of at least seeing exactly what things we're doing and where. And the quickest way was to just have this function where you can pass in a header. Basically, you compile those values and you can actually visualize exactly what's going on where. The JSON stuff, I think it's more of a long-term thing, and you're absolutely right in terms of, okay, when you have a phone, when you're creating the API, for example, the JSON is very applicable there. But when you want to, for example, do like a post-processing from say MATLAB, for example, or Python, where you're importing data sets and you're just checking cell 1 and cell 2, and you're trying to do this for a number of files. CSVs, well, not really. I think CSV is a very strong word. Let me use the word comma separated values, even though I know it means the same, but it's literally commas separating the the headers, and you can simply just do like a quick plot the cell, you know, plot the row 1 in MATLAB, for example, plot the row for originating nodes, and plot the row for destination, you know, time, and then see how they compare, plot out deltas. And from a data processing perspective, I think CSV might be better. From a login perspective, now where, again, like that could be wrong, maybe I've not used JSON like extensively now, but I've seen JSONs being used extensively when you're doing API calls, and, you're making updates to node positions and stuff like that. But purely from we want to see what the library itself can do, and we want to sort of measure that like on a very large, anyways, but we can actually talk about this.
Yes,
I don't
okay.
know if, yeah.
I
we can
think
talk
this
about this.
discussion, that's good feedback. But I do feel that this is a discussion belonging to another time.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, no, let's talk about this
This is-
maybe after.
But it's
Yeah.
good. It's good. Okay. Okay. So this is my take on I think we all have some quite good valid points to make.
Mm.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that actually everybody's perspective, when we add up, that helps us to realize, the bigger whole. I think that's the first thing to acknowledge. And okay, so I'll try to maybe summarize a bit what the current situation is, that we are about to come up with a prototype and to be released, okay, and possibly also a simulator. But then it's probably going to enter into a next stage. And this is important, where we will want and need the feedback of a larger audience, okay, and not just us, right? Because after all, we did all this not because we want to, serve us only. It's really trying to serve a larger audience and community. And that's also how the code base will become more valuable, right? So I do see that there are two main tasks ahead. One is actually the sort of the communication part, okay, to the outside world. And I can see that Victory has ideas about how to do that, right? I feel that Victory has some sense, some ideas about how we can go about that. And I also see that another aspect is, I think we are entering a stage where we might need to have what's called a technical direction. Okay. So in more, I guess, organized organization, this is usually assumed by the role of a CTO, a technical director, or a lead engineer. Okay. And basically someone who kind of decides what the overall technical direction is. And I do feel that Shao has more of an opinion and sense
Okay.
on this regard. Okay, so this is my recommendation actually. The first is that we might need to start to have a division of roles. Okay, and obviously this is not to say that if you cannot contribute or provide opinions for the other matters. But I think it's maybe more sort of a division of labor and specialization based on current interests and maybe more relevant experience. Okay. So I would actually suggest Victory to maybe take on more of sort of an external communication role. Okay. Okay. So Herman, you're sharing. Are you sharing something you'd like to?
Sorry
Helium?
about
Okay.
that.
Okay.
No,
okay.
that's
Oh.
just a visualizer example that.
Oh, I
Simon
see.
was
Okay.
asking
Oh,
about.
okay. Let's not
All
worry
right.
about that now.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think we might need to have this external website kind of set up, message done, and sort of engagement, recruitment of users, testers, and that, and potentially also look at ways to expand the chat app. Like what Herman mentioned about sort of integrating with Google Map, right? Maybe to become some kind of app on top of Google Map. That's one idea. To extend into spatial, domain, spatial pops up, or maybe simply to communicate that this is a decentralized, privacy, aware, protected chat, right? That might appeal to some people, some community. But I do feel that we need someone who can start to think about these questions and issues, right? To think about how to best engage a kind of niche market, a niche community of users who is willing to use what we have, even at the prototype stage, you see?
Mm.
And for this, I think I will share with, so I guess first I'd like to know, and if this is something you guys think will work. I mean, kind of Victoria taking on kind of the, well, in a company that will kind of be like the CEO role, and Shao more on the CTO role. Okay, if I may use that kind of analogy. What do you guys think?
Sounds good. I do agree with you that Charles is, I know Charles is quite skilled from a technical perspective. So
Okay.
yeah, it does make
Then-
sense that.
And,
yeah.
and Victoria, I think you are great at engaging the external parties, right? The LinkedIn stuff and rich finding people outside. So, and you have been thinking about building some community website, I know, you know. So I mean, I think this is an important discussion because if the roles are not clear, right, then, and it's ambiguous, then we kind of, you know, enter some arguments or fights regarding, because from what I can tell in my current experience is that there are more than one ways to achieve the same goal. Okay, and sometimes it's not really, you know, whether one is right or wrong, but it's really a matter of preference and experience, right? But in the end, you have to have someone to make the final call, right? We assign the responsibility. We trust that person to make the final call. We will offer opinion, obviously, but we respect that person to make the final decision, okay, regarding certain matters, right? So if you all agree, then perhaps I would suggest Victoria to, you know, take on the role of external engagement and maybe kind of like the product owner role, you know. This is typically would be also called a product owner, in a sense of like you are deciding what the product should look like, what the features should be, so that there's this market of users that will want it to use it, that will like it, right? So probably also you will work on the marketing aspect, the promotional aspect. And then there's this role of the kind of the tech lead role, the CTO role, okay, where basically the technical direction of the things, the architectural things, right? The technology is being used, the libraries that should or should not be included is being decided, okay? And I would say that maybe Shao can take on that role. So what do you think? So,
Yeah, cool.
okay. I mean, do you think that makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Victory, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So Herman,
Oh, it sounds good. Yeah, definitely.
okay, all right. So if that's the case, then obviously I think the two of you should have another meeting regarding whether we should use CSV or JSON. Okay. And but basically have a consensus. Okay.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it doesn't really matter as long as there's a consensus and as long as we know who is making the final, you know, decision and we trust that decision, right? And then I think Shao probably can have better technical organization. This is something you might also have to communicate and, you know, and share more with the developers. If there are certain things you like to see happen, like coding standards, right? Like maybe best practices, and maybe try to share, you know, the guidelines that developers should follow, because the team potentially will only get bigger, you know,
Yeah.
as the project rolls out. And so we do need to have some guidance here. Okay,
Yeah.
guidelines, I mean. And for Victoria, I think it's probably time to start to build that, you know, the community site, but also to sort of figure out the niche market. I will share with you. Okay, this is just I think for private use, because I am learning from Dean Graziosi. He's, I think, the best student of Tony Robbins. Okay, regarding how to turn knowledge into knowledge product. He has this great lesson about how do you find your dot. Okay. and there's a whole like training on that. So maybe I'll share with you, and you can use that to maybe try to narrow down and like what's the dot that we kind of can serve. All right. Okay, dot meaning, you know, kind of our unique capability that can be helpful, useful for Google people. All right, so is that all right? Is that good?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
you guys? Okay, all right. So I guess we'll see you tomorrow then, all right? For the
Cool.
Tomorrow morning.
for our Thursday thing.
Cool.
All right, great. So
Thanks,
that was a
everyone.
wonderful discussion.
Yeah, it was. It was.
All right, so thank you all for participating. All right, so
Mm.
talk tomorrow then. Oh yeah, sorry,
Thanks,
sorry, just one question. The mastermind, Herman, I don't know if you saw my message.
Yes,
with
so
the
Friday is fine. I was just wondering, you want to have it at 8 or at 9?
Okay, I think at 8, okay, at this time, that
Okay.
will work for me. Okay.
Cool, I'll
So
send out
are you talking
a-
about this Friday or the 24th?
No, the 24th is not gonna work.
Not good. Okay, so this
the
Friday,
10th
right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, all right. Okay, so we'll do that. All right.
Mm.
So also
Cool.
good for Victory this Friday.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah,
it a week earlier? Yeah. All right. Okay. All right.
Sounds
So
perfect.
thanks. All right. So
Cool.
Shao, and look forward to joining as well. Okay.
No worries.
All right. So take
Bye.
care. Yeah. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Cool.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Yeah,
Shall I will
bye-bye.
send a meeting invite. And
Okay.
then we can, yeah.
But
Okay.
also, if we can we have a meeting with Alida as well? Because I want to have an understanding of what exactly it is that she needs from this thing.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. That's correct. So
Okay.
probably arrange a joint meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
But anyway,
So
thank you.
all right. Take care. Yeah.
Thanks,
See you
everyone.
tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye.